Hello and good morning, everyone. Thank you all for joining Turn Digi, the online marketing conference that promotes entrepreneurs, that also supports rising talent, and also has a diverse lineup of speakers. Today we have 12 speakers dialing in from 5 different countries across 3 different continents. And 9 of our speakers today are entrepreneurs, including our first speaker, Sabiha Shakil. In today's session, we're going to have, as I mentioned, 12 different speakers talking about different elements of online marketing. So the first session of the day, I'll be joined by Sabiha. Unfortunately, Sheri's had an emergency to attend, so she will not be able to come today, but we wish her family all the best, and we hope to see Sheri soon. We'll then have a break, and then at 12:30 British Summer Time, we will then be joined by Zim, Andrew, and Claire, and they'll be talking about PPC tips, how to make local landing pages that Google will love, and of course our users too. And Claire's going to talk to us about how to win in Google My Business with UTM tagging. Very interesting indeed. Then we'll have a little break for lunch, and then we're going to be coming back for the afternoon session at 2 p.m. So we have Areej, Simon, and Marit. Areej will be talking about how you can get your tech SEO implemented. I'm sure you have all been there trying to get your tech implemented if you're working for a client or even also working in-house too. Simon's going to talk to us all about Wix, a CMS platform, and Page Builder, and Marit's going to be talking to us about topic clusters. This will be very interesting as well. It's all about sort of why we should use topic clusters and not be focusing on those exact match keywords. We'll have another break, and then we'll be back at the end of the day. We'll be joined by Joelle, Cheryl, and Chris. So Joelle's going to be sharing us how, as a small business, you can actually get ahead of your competitors in the SERPs. Cheryl's going to be talking to us about how she built her agency, Wagada, to have 14 members of her team, also winning at the UK Search Awards, and also retaining her clients. So she's going to be stressing the importance of company culture. And Chris is going to be talking to us about efficiency. So you need to automate, or as this title says, die trying. So this is our lineup for the whole day on July 2nd. Thank you everyone for joining and being part of Turn Digi so far. And we're going to be taking Q&As at the end. So please drop your questions in the chat. If you are enjoying the videos, give it a nice thumbs up and subscribe to our YouTube channel. This is a free event. It's run by myself. I wanted to put on an event that supports entrepreneurs in the wake of the COVID-19 or the coronavirus situation. I wanted to make sure that those that are freelance and contractors and running their own businesses can still have a platform to promote themselves. So follow us on Twitter at Turn Digi. The logo is in the top right-hand corner. And a big thanks out to Nicola Carey, who has her own company, Chunkable, and actually designed these slides, and my sister, Ruth Turnbull, who did the artwork. So today I'm going to be talking to you about international SERPs and how to rank for featured snippets. A quick intro about myself. My full name is Jo Juliana Turnbull. I go by SEO Jo blogs or Juliana. And I'm a growth marketer at Authoritas part-time and also a freelance SEO consultant. I've been working in SEO since about 2009. I've had the pleasure of working across multiple countries. I worked in Australia, in Sydney and Perth, in London, and now here in Barcelona, Spain. I'm also the organizer of Search London. So we just turned 9 years old in February, and we had our first event, our first digital event, virtual event this Monday. I'm also a travel blogger. I have a website called being30.com. I set up, when I was 30. Still in the 30s, so we can keep that name. And I'm a chartered marketer. And I was also became a finalist for the Global Freelancer of 2020. an award ceremony set up by Don't Panic. So international SERPs. I'm going to be talking about really feature snippets, the study, and then also the how-to. I really like seeing theory and then putting it into practice. And please, if you have any questions, please just drop them into the chat. So what are feature snippets? It might sound really basic, but there's lots of vocabulary being thrown around here. And I just wanted to have a baseline and just to go back to, I call it brilliant basics. So direct answers and position zero is what it's also called. It's when Google takes your content, then presents it as an answer really in the search engine result pages. Now, Google actually determines whether your content answers that user's questions or not. And therefore, if it's going to show you or show them that featured snippets. And I also want to stress that featured snippets, they also depend really on what the user types in or what you write. And it does also depend in what country you're coming from, because obviously you will be getting different results. Yes, you can use VPNs, but it's important to realize if you're working in a global client, you won't always be ranking for the same different universal SERPs. So I thought this Google guidelines was actually really good. It goes into so much detail about how to rank for different feature snippets, frequently asked questions, how to, and so on. I actually wanted to appear in People Also Ask, and I was trying that for some of my sites. But actually there's no, it doesn't, Google does not say you need to implement this snippet or this piece of code, I would say, on your site to appear for People Also Ask, unfortunately. It was a bit of a trial and error. So what I'm going to do today is actually show you what I have done to appear as a paragraph feature snippet. So just to really to get it home, to drive home, what is the featured snippet? It really is here where you can see that feature snippet. So how to keep, or best way to keep fit at home. We've all, I'm sure, tried it. And if you noticed as well, the ads all look white. I was trying to get a picture of the SERPs a few years ago, but I wasn't able to. I wanted to be able to show you the difference of that. And this is People Also Ask. So best pay monthly phones, because I use pay monthly or SIM only deals, and that's where you can see that. So the international SERPs. We went through just what feature snippets are. We're going to go through the study now, and then we'll take you through the actual implementation. So I'm working at Authoritas part-time. I'm growth marketer, and I was really interested about international search and international SERPs. Just from my background, I moved around a lot and I've worked in other countries. So I'm really aware that, you know, what happens in one country doesn't always just appear in the other. So we looked at this results. It's actually 11 markets. These are all the markets. So we looked at Switzerland, the two markets there, France and German, or French and German. We also looked at Sweden, Norway, and Finland, Germany, Italy, France, Spain, US, and UK. So this is across 15 months. I'm looking at this data, so from last March until and including May. And we have around 70 million different keywords per month. So I'm going to focus just for time-wise, just on 4 of the different universal SERPs that we looked at. So it's feature snippets. This I found it was mostly the US and the UK that had the highest percentage of terms. But the other countries, which was Sweden, France, Germany, and then Spain, they were seeing an increase over these 15 months. Image SERPs, looking at that, it really is Switzerland. Both the French and the German market is dominating that area, and then followed by Norway and Sweden, but not Finland. The video SERPs, they take up the highest area of the SERPs, the real estate really in the US, and then looking at the French market of Switzerland. And then I was looking at local results, local pack. So I actually found that Sweden and Norway actually had the largest percentage of keywords that were generating the that were generating the local results. Well, I just also wanted to say hello everyone that's joined so far. Hello Arij, Yogi, David, Marit, and Luke, and everyone else not yet signed in, or not signed in. You don't have to sign in. Okay, so these are just some of the highlights that I looked at, and this is again taking an average until May last month. So you can see that the US and the UK, they had a lot of featured snippets, at the highest percentage of featured snippets, and then Sweden, and basically Norway is one of the lowest. Italy was before one of the lowest. It's then increased. Norway still remains one of the lowest, which is quite interesting actually. Norway and Finland, a lot of the keywords do not generate featured snippets, but Sweden does. Many times in the Nordics, you find that one type of methodology of SEO works across all markets, but as you can see, it's not always the case. So hence the stress that when you're doing international SEO, it's really important to know the market and to know what will and will not work. So I'm in Spain, and I wanted to just show you that, visually that SERPs obviously vary by country, even if it's the same company. So Santander, well-known brand here, well-known brand in the UK as well. So looking at insurance Santander, we see that, they've got direct clicks to certain areas of their site, so site links in here. And you can see on their page as well on the right that you've got the home insurance, easy to click into, the content insurance, and life protection. So it's really easy for people to actually visualize and see the actual web page itself in the SERPs, and then click through. Now Santander in Spain, I'm in Spain, I did the same SERP results. I did it with obviously in Spanish, so seguro is insurance, and I found that you do not have the same at all. The website is different, although it does actually show, try and address people to, or send people to certain areas. Seguros de vida, life insurance, Seguro de Hogar, home insurance, but you do not see that actually within the SERPs. It doesn't look as friendly and not as enticing to the user to click through. So then I looked at the image SERPs. So these are the percentage of keywords that are showing image results here in our study. So quite a high percentage for overall markets, but the highest one really is Switzerland, both the FR, the French and the German market. And over time, we have actually seen Sweden, Norway, and Finland have an increase over this in this particular universal SERP results. I was actually surprised that the UK and the US had the least, but that's why we do these studies, and you can see more. We're going to be continuing to analyze this. I'll be working with Authoritas on that, and then can actually go into more detail. But I really just wanted to give everyone a top level of just how some of the featured snippets appear different according to different countries. And this is another example of how image SERPs change. So I'm in Barcelona, and I typed the word Barcelona, and I got loads of information about the news. I got lots of information about things to do in Barcelona, a little bit down here about the Barcelona football team. My sister is in Australia. She typed Barcelona. All she gets is the football team. So when they think of Barcelona, they just think football. So again, this just illustrates the fact that SERPs change depending on where you are, even though you can still have, of course, be looking at the exact same word. So looking at video SERPs, I was analyzing this according to the 11 markets, and actually it was Spain and the US that actually when they generated, so the keywords that actually resulted in video SERPs. Sweden quite low, Norway and Finland just above that. France is actually on par with the US, although it seems to have increased recently, but this is again just taking the average. So looking at video SERPs, what would you see if you type in the same term? So I'm helping to organize tea time SEO at Authoritas. I just wanted to see what would come up. And actually, we see that we have a little feature snippet coming from YouTube, actually. This is nothing to do with the actual page itself of the Authoritas website. It's just coming from YouTube. So I turned into that one. And then after I was looking for Spanish results only, did not get that feature snippet, just got the video SERPs. So just an interesting observation, really, from that. And local SERPs. So this is our last one that I will show, and then I will go into the implementation. So looking at the countries, we saw that actually Sweden and Norway, the highest percentage of keywords you can see here, were generating the local pack. And Finland is not like the other two because they saw the lowest. And the UK is seeing a slight increase of these past 15 months, the same as Switzerland too. Again, I was just looking at how do they appear, because when I was just doing co-working Barcelona, where I am, and you can see obviously the co-working spaces. I did Authoritas, I'm in Barcelona, I did not get any local pack. Of course, if you're in the UK and you get it, you will get that local pack. So again, it really depends on where you are. And of course, yes, I'm sure if you use a VPN, you may get different results, but I wasn't using one at this time. So we went through the feature snippets, the study, and now I'm just going to take you through the implementation. So it's really important to emphasize the fact that for the implementation, we didn't have any dev work. It was really just our time. But you need to have, of course, admin access so that you can amend these things within the CMS. So the plugin that I used, and I'm using WordPress, I used structured data plugin. And then I chose what pages I wanted to appear for these feature snippets. Then I wrote my text accordingly. So I'll show you this. And this is still a work in progress because I'm still monitoring some of these results. So in the backend system, you can see on the left here, this is a structured data plugin. They have different types of structured data, frequently asked questions, events, job posting. But I was really interested in the frequently asked questions. And you can see these are the pages that I wanted to make sure that were appearing for frequently asked questions. So I also rewrote some text. So this one, how do you do keyword research, Authoritas? I rewrote this one, and I added schema, but it wasn't appearing for frequently asked questions. It's just appearing for featured snippets. It's only ranking on brand. So if I take away brand, what do I get? I actually get keyword.io. And the reason is because they've gone into a really in-depth article about how to do keyword research. So this is a good example that if you're looking to rank for certain terms and you want to appear for feature snippets, you need to make sure, you need to check what you're doing and check what other people in the market are doing as well. For this one though, I managed to rank for a frequently asked questions snippet. So you can see here, this is the frequently asked questions that appear there. I did change the text as well and put the schema markup. So you need to sometimes do both, or sometimes you change the content as we saw in the last example and you appeared for featured snippets. This one actually is a bit different. I changed the content. I didn't have any schema, but you can actually see at the bottom here, it says analytics and reports, and you can actually see the questions there appearing. But I didn't put frequently asked questions. So sometimes I think that Google decides what they want to show. And then this one was a post that went live last week. So I just did a screen grab to see what do we have. Of course, it's thinking that we want to change the term, but I don't. But you can see that it is actually appearing for feature snippets here. But I didn't add any schema. We just made sure that the paragraphs were quite clear, and you had, proper heading tags as well. So some takeaways today really is, I think you need to just be kind to yourself and be realistic. What can you achieve? So really try and focus on the content that is the most important to you and your client. then I would really then make sure that you amend some of the text so you can make it in a list or a short paragraph or some tables. We haven't done tables yet, but that is something to be looked at. If you are using other platforms like YouTube, for example, it is still important to optimize. As you saw in that example, we did have a featured snippets ranking pulling in from YouTube, actually. I would recommend to use a schema plugin, even though sometimes by not using it, I still appeared for featured snippets. It's still very important to use. But most of all, I would say record your results and manage expectations, and just make sure that everyone knows if you're working across a global site or a global brand, the results are not always the same in all countries. So really do record your results. So do those screen grabs, and then reassess every week or whenever you have your meetings with your team, what you can do. So those are my takeaways. Thank you very much for listening. I will be uploading these to SlideShare. And now, yes, open to questions. Thank you. Oh, David saying, I'm in Australia and it's Barcelona FC first. Yes. And saying, do you have an idea of using VPNs for the sake of checking ranking gives us the same ranking as it be shown local results? So when I've used VPN before, yes, we did manage to have get the actual local ranking for that company or that country. But as I said, I haven't used it for the case here for actually checking featured snippets. So thank you very much. Without further ado, I'm going to pass over to Sabiha, who is going to be taking us through a really interesting presentation about how she generated over €1 million worth of leads in 9 months. So leave your questions in the chat. I'm going to pass over to Sabiha. Thank you.
Thanks, Juliana. Yes, let me just share my screen. Welcome to you all, and thank you for joining the session. Can you see my screen, Juliana?
Yes, we can see it now. Yes, thank you.
Okay, perfect. Okay. So I'm going to talk about how I achieved €1 million in revenue in 9 months from online marketing leads. My name is Sabiha Shakil. I'm an independent marketing and digital marketing consultant. You can follow me on LinkedIn and Twitter at Sabiha Shakil. Just a little bit about me. If you can guess which city I live in, the first person to direct message me on LinkedIn will get a 1-hour free consultation from me. So go ahead and message me on LinkedIn. About me, I have been developing marketing strategies for over 20 countries in the last 15 years. So those include either living in those markets or visiting those markets. I basically translate client goals into digital marketing strategies and ensure that they get the return on their investment or they achieve their objectives. I've also done a lot of marketing integration work, even digital marketing integration for mergers and acquisitions in the last 10 years. Apart from marketing, I'm also a freelance hatha yoga and prenatal yoga teacher. So all you yogis out there, hello, namaste. I've traveled to over 40 countries. I'm not a travel blogger. It's just, destiny that has taken me to different parts of the world. And I'm very fortunate and happy that I've been able to experience all the different cultures and people that I've met across the world. I am a technical marketing professional. I come from the biotechnology, agriculture, food, and environmental science industries. So, but I'm also a marketer. So yeah, let's carry on. So how did I achieve €1 million revenue from online marketing leads last year? It's basically just it boils down to 3 main things. And that's what I'm going to be talking about in the presentation. But just a bit on the background, I was managing multiple websites to achieve this. The lead and revenue were already being generated with really little digital efforts. the client just had a website and some social media pages, etc. So we were already generating leads and revenue from them. They wanted to change the marketing function to be more ROI driven instead of a cost center. So that's why this target was given. The market potential for the Asian region is huge. We have a lot of people in the Asian region, so a huge number of internet users. So the potential to achieve that target is there. There was issues with internal team capability. There was a gap between what the businesses wanted, what were the marketing objectives, and how that translated to digital marketing objectives, and how that was communicated to digital marketing team members or the agency. Agency management was also something that needed to look into. So I was literally the middle person between the client as well as the agency to ensure that the strategies were being driven, as well as the targets were being achieved. The key channel that we worked on is obviously, if you have an aggressive target, the first thing you think about is paid search. But later on, in later months, we realized that we probably needed to diversify that a bit and look at local SEO and SEO as well. The calendar year was Jan to December for achieving the target, but I was on board only week 4 of March. So 3 to 4 months of the year had already gone by, and not much of the target was achieved in the quarter 1. So we literally had 9 months to achieve that target. The attitude was, okay, this is impossible. It can't be done. You're out of your mind. That was the attitude that was there. But when the client called me, I said, let's do this. We can do this. We've got this, So it was a good thing. So the key things that helped me achieve was really the planning, number 1, and number 2, optimize, and forecasting. These were the 3 main factors that helped me achieve that target and help the team achieve a target. When we talk about planning, we look at just SMART goals. You look at things that are specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-based. So if I break these down into the task that was given to me, what I needed to do was achieve €1 million revenue from paid search. Paid search already had about 60% contribution to overall B2C leads. And yeah, the target audience was B2C. In addition, I had to coach the internal team to be more revenue oriented mentality. Then I looked at, okay, what are the KPIs for paid search? We look at cost per leads, cost per click-through rates, or conversion rates, but also we looked at the amount of leads that we're actually generating. In addition, we had also had to look at the amount of sales qualified leads, so basically convertible leads that we could generate. Again, this is a non-e-commerce website, so the sales conversion was happening offline, right? And we had to generate possibly around 6 to 10K leads per month in terms of sales qualified leads, and 100K revenue euro per month in terms of revenue. So that was a huge task that needed to be achieved. So whether or not this was achievable, we looked at, okay, what are the tools available? What are the people? What are the constraints and limitations? So this basically was the deciding factor for me to say yes or no to this project. But I looked at, okay, we have Google Analytics, we have ads, we don't have forecasting tools, but we can just use Excel. And did I have the flexibility to use other tools, especially analytical tools? Because you have multiple websites, you need to be able to consolidate the data, analyze it. The people, what's the capability of the in-house team? How's the agency? Is it like a startup agency? How's their expertise level, etc.? And 9 months, really? So that's also what I looked at. And the limitations were small team, and I did this completely remotely. I didn't even travel to the market, right? So it's just a lot of calls. So this work from home thing that's happening during COVID time, it's pretty not very new to me, because we generate €1 million revenue just sitting from home last year. And I looked at, okay, is paid search really the only channel that we can look at? So then we looked at, after assessing all this, I said, okay, can this be done? And I said, yes, it can be done. I looked at the capability mainly of the agency and the dedication of the team, and I said, let's do this. So when we look at the assessing, we look at looking at their past performance. Though they were not so aggressive on digital, we could see that there was some growth and there was some revenue coming out of the digital initiatives. We could also see the sales conversion rates of online leads and how they were initially quite low, but with a bit of coaching and a few calls and monitoring and viewing, those could have been improved. And we looked at seasonalities, lows and highs. When are the months that I could definitely get a higher number of leads, and when are the months that would get a lower number of leads? And it's a B2C business and a niche market, so there was an issue with seasonality. The last quarter of the year is probably the time where I would not get much leads. Can I forecast? Did we have the capability to forecast? And yes, we did. And the commitment of sales. So then when we look at time, I said, okay, let's do this in 7 months. Let's have monthly targets. Let's even have weekly targets, and let's even look at daily target achievement, just so that we ensure we are achieving these targets. So when we're looking at revenue, and when we become from non-revenue marketing function to a revenue marketing function, we need to think like sales. So if we're given a revenue target, we really need to look backwards, right? So I was given over $1 million revenue, 100K per month I needed to achieve for X number of leads, right? So then I look at, okay, how many sales qualified leads do I need to achieve for that revenue, and what is the conversion rate of the sales? What is the average revenue per lead? Right. Then I look at, okay, how many marketing leads do I need to generate for X number of sales qualified leads? Then I look at, okay, what are the digital marketing metrics that will help me achieve those number of marketing leads? And in this case specifically, what are the paid search KPIs that I need to look at? Then I say, okay, let's achieve the revenue within 7 months by September, because that's the peak season. Let's not wait till December. Let's do it by September. Let's look at consider the sales conversion rate. And in terms of the turnaround time, we have a bunch of products and services that we can promote. Which one has the shorter turnaround time for conversion? Which one has the higher turnaround time? And that way you can strategize, okay, for short turnaround time products, we look at volume. For high turnaround products, we look at value. Then we look at, okay, what is the contribution to organic? Do I really need to spend so much money driving paid search if I can see that organic is growing? But at that time, organic wasn't priority, but okay, so that was just something to keep in mind, right? And then we looked at what are the paid search contribution to the total leads contribution. So then the next step was, okay, I have my plan, I have my targets, I know what I need to do. Then I look at ways to optimize, right? And phase 1 of optimization was really the key strategy was restructure, reduce my marketing leads and versus sales qualified lead variance. So if you're generating 5,000 marketing qualified leads and you're only converting 1,000 of those, then you need to make sure that you're generating quality leads so that variance increases, so that you get more money out of your you get more return out of your investment. So when we looked at campaigns, in the first phase of optimization, we looked at campaigns, ad group types, and keywords. For campaigns, we looked at, okay, what are the ones that are going to give me volume in terms of leads with low cost per lead and cost per click, and what are the ones that are going to give me high value, which are the campaigns that are going to give me high revenue value from, and then I look at, okay, do I need to restructure the whole campaign? What are the scheduling that I need to do and targeting based on those considerations? Then I look at ad group type. Honestly, RSAs, responsive search ads, made my life a lot easier. It was very convenient just to, do RSAs, because I didn't have to test so many different types of ad copies. So I just created one whole RSA with 15 lines, and I was, it was just easier to manage. So look at diversifying your ad group types as well, and see what works best for you. Remarketing had helped a lot in terms of looking at different ad group types. For keywords, if you want volume, you look at broad match, but then I didn't look at broad match. I looked at broad match modifiers, and then and for quality, I looked at exact match keywords. So we completely did a whole keyword mapping, and we did a combination of broad match and exact match keywords. For quality score, normally for keywords, quality score is something that you look at, and people really drive to ensure they have good that their ad copies are relevant, and you get higher click-through rates to those. But we were not really working on the landing pages very much, so quality score was not a metric that we looked at. But we did look at ad relevance in terms of keywords and the ad copy. Okay, so we were able to meet our monthly target within 3 months, right? And because of that, the client decided to kind of reduce our budget by 50% because we'd already optimized it pretty well. Okay, so that was another challenge. So then phase 2 of optimization, we looked at more things that Google Ads has to offer. We looked at really looking at click-through rates and cost per leads, and then diversifying our channels towards the end. So for campaigns, we looked at breaking it down further into more campaigns. Bidding strategy, initially we were going manual, and normally the rule of thumb is, okay, manual, you're able to manage your costs better. But what we realized that when we switched to automated, we realized that perhaps the manual CPC that we were using was not really the ideal bidding that we could have done to achieve the leads. So what happened was, the automated bidding, when we switched to automated bidding, we were able to see, okay, maybe we're bidding too low, and that was very useful and gave us a lot of insight. Also, location targeting, apart from ad customizers, we also looked at, okay, I'm driving leads from certain locations, are sales converting those? So trying to find the balance between how much of lead we're getting online versus how many are getting converted. That was something that we had to look at in detail, and that required a lot of conversations with sales. Also, location bid adjustments really helped to manage the cost per lead, because we had a 50% budget cut. When you look at ad scheduling, the general rule of thumb, because we broke a lot of rules here, so okay, but general rule of thumb is that you would want to target in the peak hours, but we realized that CPL is too high during those peak hours. So why not look at non-peak hours and maybe bid a bit more in those to get more leads? So during the non-peak hours, we also got pretty good high value quality leads. So my suggestion is really look at your ad scheduling and see really where you can target. For auction insights, towards quarter 3, we found that our budget was not getting consumed, right? And this was mainly because the impression share lost due to budget was less than 10%, by August. So we're like, okay, no matter how much money you put in, you're not gonna get much of it's not gonna be used up. So then we're like, okay, maybe we need to diversify our channel a bit now. Let's look at local SEO and learning and looking at location pages as well as SEO. So that was a big learning for us as well, that you can't just drive paid search. You need to look at local SEO and SEO to get you to get that organic contribution of leads going up as well. And analytics is very important. With regard to Google Analytics, we experimented between every and one attribution modeling, and what we found was that the every helped to us to really look at it helped in terms of optimization in detail. We looked at every single conversion that we had, and we could see how we could optimize further. And one other challenge we had was, okay, do I have the tools available to analyze multiple websites in terms of performance forecasting and targeting? And what I found were really useful, which is also integrated with Google Sheets, is Supermetrics. Very good tool to use when you're trying to analyze multiple websites and performances. And what we also use, Performance Planner was launched, I think, May in 2019. And we this helped us to understand how much we should spend, but at that time it was a very new tool. I think it functions better now, but it did help us to understand how much we could spend in the following month if we had to if we were making certain campaigns live. So this was the second stage of optimization. Okay, so the next step was, okay, if you're thinking like sales, you need to do forecasting, right? And you need to not only forecast your revenue and your leads, you also need to forecast, okay, how much traffic could I get? And what did I use for forecasting? I used predictive analytics, right? We did some regression analysis on website visits, etc., and to understand what could be our performance in the coming months. We also looked at Performance Planner, but it wasn't the key tool to use because it was still new and it was still developing at the time. I also developed a leads calculator to help me determine how many marketing leads would be generated for X amount of money, taking into consideration the contribution of organic leads as well as the sales conversion rate, right? So this was the forecasting strategies. So now what success was, okay, we spent only 10% of the revenue. So if we made like €1 million, then we spent only 10% of that in terms of ad spend. So you can just see the ROI. The sales quality leads conversion rate increased by 50% because of the we were closely working with sales every week to ensure that they were converting the leads. And there was about 300% growth in revenue versus the prior year. Okay, so that was it. So the lesson to be learned is consistency is very important. I woke up looking at Google Analytics app on my phone, and I slept every day looking at Google Analytics apps just to see the performance every night. Okay, you have to think outside the box. You don't need to follow the general rules of thumb, right? Do what works best for you. And never stop learning, find new tools, find new ways to do things, and be really open to feedback. So that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Some very useful tips there. We had some questions actually from the audience, so we can go into that. So Azim, +1, so he agrees with your RSAs, and he has a question. What are your thoughts on pinning specific areas like the brand name?
What are my thoughts on pinning specific areas like the brand name? I didn't really understand the question.
Azim, could you clarify, please? You can write it in the chat.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, we'll just answer another question. So,
like, use the brand in the ad copies or in the campaigns or what?
Oh, I think he will be writing in the chat. So in the next question, we'll just ask while it's being written or clarified. Question about which paid medium did you use to achieve your targets besides AdWords? Email marketing was that one, although that's more of a time.
Okay, to achieve your targets besides AdWords, so a paid medium. I mainly used paid search. So which I explained in my presentation as well. Paid search was the way to go, and then we diversified into local SEO and SEO. So we did run local search ads towards the end as well.
Okay, great. And as English clarify, he's basically saying making the brand name always appear as the first headline. So that's what it means by pinning specific areas.
Okay, so the brand name is definitely, if it depends how the the maturity of the brand in the market, right? If you can use the brand name in the headlines, then use it. And I've used in the first 3, when you're creating the headlines of ad copies, I always ensure to put the brand name in either one of the top headlines. So just to ensure that awareness goes out as well. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you. And then I think Andrew was just confirming something with Azim about it. And just one last question is asking, go-to strategy to convert leads into sales during campaign. I'm not quite sure of that question. So yeah, I think it's just trying to ask, okay, how did you convert, change from strategy to actually the implementation, and then get the sales. You told us how you had these leads and then you converted them during the campaign.
So, you have to have an action plan, right? So like I said, you needed to have an annual plan. What are the key things, the key milestones that you want to achieve? Then you have to have the monthly targets, right? I talked about how I told myself I want to achieve 100K per month, and then what are the actions required? So you need to have a project plan that has a weekly actions, monthly actions with the milestones and the annual ones as well. So that's what you need to do.
Okay, great. Well, thank you very much, Sabiha, for sharing your tips. We've got quite a few people live watching, but we've only got 8 likes. Please like the video if you've enjoyed the talk. And we are going to be back in 20 minutes, or sorry, not 20 minutes. I will share the screen. We will be back in 30 minutes to then actually have our second presentation or session of the day. So we're going to be back at 12:30 British summertime with Azim, Andrew, who are in the chat, and Claire. I just want to give a big thank you to Sabiha for joining us today, and continue to, was it tweet at you or was it LinkedIn at you about the question? Which one was it? If they have if they know the answer of where you are located, do they tweet to you or send you a LinkedIn message?
LinkedIn message.
Okay, LinkedIn message.
Thank you, guys.
Great. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
No, continue.
Oh, okay. I said thank you, everybody. And if you have any questions, please do reach out. 10-15 minutes is very little time to talk about €1 million. So you can contact me.
Yes, thank you. We will definitely be reaching out to you. And your slides, are they available on SlideShare maybe later, or I will be sending out an email with all the links to the presentations and the videos. So if you don't have it on SlideShare, I can include in that, or feel free to share it when you have it ready.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you all very much for joining, and please come back at 12:30 p.m. BST, just in 40 minutes, when you will have Azim and Andrew and Claire talk to you about lots of different interesting, useful tips. And follow us on Twitter. We'll be tweeting out this schedule as well. Thank you all. We'll see you very soon.